Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the ABLE Annual Conference for 2023. We're joined by Claudia Peterson and Wiebke Kuhn from Carleton College, who are going to talk about ePortfolios and student employment in just a second. But first, we want to make sure we go over some housekeeping details. This session is being recorded, so if you do not want to be captured in the recording, just turn your camera off, no problem. And we have the Zoom captions turned on for those who might want to use them for whatever purpose. Just go to the bottom of the Zoom window, find the closed caption button, and use the show subtitle option. If you don't see that closed caption button, it might be hiding under the button marked More with 3 dots, where you'll also see that option. Last but not least, please post any comments or questions about the presentation in the chat. Because everybody is a practitioner and has different experiences, and we hope that you'll participate in that way. So without further ado, we're here to hear from Claudia and Wiebke from Carleton College, ePortfolios and Student Employment, a strategic merging of 2 high-impact practices. I encourage you to take it away.
Thank you. This is going to be a really fast-moving talk, and I'm looking over there because that's where my script is. And there is no interactivity in it because it's only 20 minutes. And if you know me, you know that will break my heart that I can't talk with you, but only at you. So my apologies at this point. So thank you for joining us for our 20-minute conversation on ePortfolios and student employment, a strategic merging of 2 high-impact practices. I am Wiebke Kuhn, Director of Academic Technology at Carleton College, here with my colleague Claudia Peterson, the Head of Reference and Instruction in Carleton School Library. Together with Rachel Leatham, who used to be the Associate Director of our Career Center, and Victoria Morse, previous Director of our Learning and Teaching Center, we participated in the AAC&U's annual ePortfolio Institute in 2022, and we are now in a place to go live with our first group of student employees. So our presentation will cover the trajectory of our project, our theoretical framework, focus of our prompts and instructional materials, and the connection to our library interns. Carleton College is a small residential private liberal arts college south of the Twin Cities in Minnesota. When I joined Carleton in July 2020, ePortfolios were not a priority, but a year later, I was brought into conversations about previous efforts, and it became clear that at an institution offering classes on the 10-week term system, adding ePortfolios to academic programs was very difficult. The AAC&U's annual ePortfolio Institute gave us 4 collaborators a great starting point to think through how to turn our idea of using student employment and internships as the vehicle for our ePortfolio initiative into reality. It did take some additional time to identify our first group of interns, as the library unfortunately was not able to hire interns for the fall of 2023. This has given us the time to build out the infrastructure and identify more allies who are equally interested in giving their student employees the time and tools to work on their digital identities. Finally, Carleton College started a new strategic planning process. And in this planning, ePortfolios were raised as a possibility to be included in the strategic plan. Our research covered a lot of ground, but the 4 key resources I want to highlight here as the foundation for our theoretical framework are Brett Ehnen and Lara Gambino's book, High Impact ePortfolio Practice, a catalyst for student, faculty, and institutional learning. George McClellan, Christian Krieger, and Mariana Savoca's book, A Good Job, Campus Employment as a High-Impact Practice. The AAC&U's resources, especially their value rubric and ABLE's digital ethics principles in ePortfolios. That was one too far. No. Okay, just ignore this. There we go. We adapted Ehnen and Gambino's model to focus on student work as a high-impact practice rather than programs and majors within the ecosystem of the campus. With 80% of our students working on campus and over 70% of students participating in an internship, these numbers suggested the potential to a far reach of our initiative. It also allows for us to give students recognized time during their working hours to work on their e-portfolio, so that it is not assumed to become an additional assignment to be worked on in precious free time. The e-portfolio as a whole should be a significant learning experience following DFINC's identification of 6 dimensions that in their combination create such a significant learning experience. For us, this means that each of the prompts we are creating for student reflection will cover at least 3 of these dimensions, so that students will think of all 6 of them at some point during their e-portfolio reflections. Finally, Kolb's Circle of Reflection provides the underpinning for our understanding of how students will work with their experiences and reflections. So the combination of these different approaches provides us with a spiral or iterative process that starts with students in their employment, receiving feedback from their supervisors, which will, through the circle of reflection, move towards broader questions connecting with their academic work, ethical questions of accessibility, usability, data responsibility, and respect for author rights and reuse permissions. They will practice storytelling through different media, graphic design, web technologies, and when they feel ready, they will push to the world their digital identity that has been shaped through feedback and through iterative thinking and revision. So what does this really look like? We are currently working on building out our website to be ready for the fall. This resource will include prompts and instructions for students. The prompts cover the vision, purpose, and plan for their personal website. We're learning from working with students right now that e-portfolio may not be the best term to use. Audience analysis, skill assessment of both core skills, or as I just learned, durable skills, and tangible skills, how to decide what evidence to include, and reflection that builds over time on previous experiences to level up the thinking from reporting to relating to reasoning, with the final goal of reconstructing the work for publication that then showcases the connections between learning and values, local skills, and larger ethical questions. Instructions include web design, web organization and maintenance, graphic design, video, audio, and image manipulation, storytelling, privacy and security, and accessibility and inclusive design, and copyright and ownership questions. The guidance we are developing for the supervisors will recognize the limited time they have available, stress the importance of relationships, as Belton and Lambert argue in Relationship-Rich Education, while providing strategies for giving feedback and awareness of ABLE's digital ethics principles for e-portfolios, and understanding when and where students can ask for help, like the Career Center or Information Technology Services. Our allies have asked for a cohort experience, timelines for both students and for themselves, and milestones. So we are incorporating these ideas into our website and our fall planning. Okay, Claudia, your turn.
All right, thank you so much, Vibeke, and welcome everyone. Thanks so much for taking the time to attend our presentation. So I'm Claudia Peterson, Head of Reference and Instruction at Gould Library here at Carleton College in Northfield, Minnesota. And I'll just take a few moments to tell you a little bit more about the Library Reference and Instruction Internship, a little bit about the history of it, what we've been doing lately with the internship. And as you will hear me, you'll see why this is a great spot for us to be able to do an e-portfolio with our students. So let me take you back to 2011 to the Carleton College Strategic Plan. So the Career Center in 2011 established the on-campus internship program. They also run off-campus internship programs, but the on-campus internship program came about due to a recommendation that was on that year's strategic plan. And the recommendation was that there needed to be more professional development growth opportunities for students outside of the classroom in an effort to continue to work to help them be ready for life after Carleton. So the Career Center established the on-campus internship program as a type of student employment to be able to reach a lot of students. So our students do get paid to be a part of our internship, just like they would get paid to have another job at the campus. Next slide. And what the Career Center does is they offer a really good structure and support so that departments like the library can establish their internship programs. And some of the things coming out of the Career Center is, for example, one of the first things we do with interns is have them establish a learning plan in which they do goal setting. A lot of students' goals have to do with becoming better researchers, becoming better public speakers, for example. Part of the internship has to have a learning component. So that is sort of the academic side coming in, right? They have to be learning something about the profession in which they are working. So we always include readings or webinars about academic librarianship, since we're running this internship out of the library. The internship does have to have a reflective practice. So our students will complete weekly blog posts based on the things that they are learning that particular week. Students must attend professional development workshops that are provided by the Career Center. So there you see the professional development piece coming in to join the academic piece. And some of the things that the Career Center does with students is help them with resume building and interviewing skills, for example. The Career Center also provides financial support so that we can take our students to a local conference. And we also have mid-year and end-of-year check-ins with the internship supervisor and with a Career Center coach to make sure that we are giving our students the opportunities and the projects to achieve the goals that they set out on their learning plan. And also that serves as an opportunity for a supervisor to give feedback on work performance for our students. Next slide. So with that, now I've talked about what the Career Center offers for us and how they guide us in establishing the internship. So what then we do at the library, we were first of all very excited to be able to work with the Career Center on the reference and instruction internship, because we were very interested in introducing our profession as a potential career path for students. So when we do our recruitment, we use that kind of language. We establish the internship very much for students who are interested in potentially pursuing that profession. So that's how we do our recruitment. Our internship class is small. We only have 2 to 4 students each year. It's run out of the reference department within the library. But I will say that in the 5 years that I have been an intern supervisor, 4 of my interns have gone on to attend library school and are pursuing the library profession right now. So I consider that a huge success. A little bit more about what we do in the internship. So we have trimesters at Carleton. So our students work 10 hours per week during a 10-week trimester for a total of 300 hours for the school year. And we establish a week-by-week curriculum that includes the readings that I discussed, that is the learning component. We include those required reflection questions for our students. And there's always a project that a student will complete either throughout the term or throughout the year, depending on the type of project that it is. And I will show you an example of a project here in another slide, and I'll show you an example of what a week-by-week looks like for us here at the Reference and Instruction Department. And because of the nature of the work that students are doing, they are working so closely with their supervisors and with other, and with other library staff, and that offers the opportunity for them to be able to get some mentorship from us. Next slide. So we could go to the next slide, Vibka. Okay, so these next couple slides this is an example of what a week by week looks like, right? So we give each week a theme. So for example, this coming fall, week 1, the theme is going to be Introduction to Information Literacy, which is the work that we do as reference librarians as we help students grow in their research skills. So we tell the students what the reading is, and then we ask them to reflect on that and be ready to come to what is essentially a discussion session with their supervisor and fellow interns to discuss the things that they are learning that week. And then in the next slide here, you'll see that week 2 will build on week 1. So we introduce them to information literacy the first week, and then in week 2, we take them deeper into what that looks like in practice. So there's a couple of more readings there that students complete. And once again, the deliverable being the blog posting that they have to do and answering to some of these reflection questions. I'll just say that I really liked what I heard a little bit ago about co-constructing reflection questions with your students. I think there's a lot of room for us to always continue to do things differently and better. And I think bringing them in to know about what they would want us to ask and or what they think would be good to ask in this requirement of reflection, I think is going to be very good for us to consider. And then the next slide here, very quickly, this is just what our reflection site looks like. We use WordPress here at Carleton. And so we build a reflection site for students to be able to post the reflections. It is public, so students can add this to a resume or share it with the professor if they want. And here in my last slide is an example of an intern project. So reference librarians, we work with professors, we visit their classes to teach research skills to students. And along with that, we will oftentimes create a course guide or a course web page with curated research material. So there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes to be able to curate all of this together. This particular student on this particular year was very interested in growing more in their research skills. They were, because they're going to attend graduate school. And so they worked with this professor to learn about the professor's goal, about what they wanted them to learn, what they wanted their students to learn in this class. And then the student went and did a lot of background research to be able to identify appropriate reference resources and appropriate databases for research. So essentially, they were conducting the work that a reference librarian would do in any one term. So yes, that's all I wanted to show. Thank you. I'll send it back to Vika.
Thank you, Claudia. So we will have the library interns. We may actually also have some language assistants we're getting rumbles out of the Spanish program that they are interested in starting in the fall with us. And so with this first smaller group of interns, we have a straightforward connection between what the library R&I syllabus is and the thinking and writing the interns are already doing and the path we are creating for them to build their e-portfolio. We are encouraged by other groups on campus who have expressed interest in joining us on this journey and the grand general campus-wide interest through the strategic planning process. And we hope then this connection of student employment in e-portfolios will be a powerful merging of these two high impact practices. And if we have also our resources here, so if you're interested in for us to share the slides, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen, because we have like 3 minutes left for questions.
I have a question. You mentioned that the library interns attend a local conference. Could you tell us about that?
Yes, so here in Minnesota, the Minnesota Association of Libraries has a local conference in the spring that is called ARLD Day, and it is a very short one-day conference about different topics in academic librarianship. And it's a very practical conference to send students to. So there's a couple of different presentations throughout the day. So students will go with their supervisors to learn about different topics in academic librarianship. And in the past, we have had a couple of our interns attend that conference and give a presentation about their internship and some of the work that they are doing, such as that course guide that I showed. So we try to do that every year. The past couple of years have been online. So we're waiting to see if we can take students back to an in-person experience next time we do this.
Yeah, and so a couple of questions about credit. No credit for what they are doing because the internship is deemed a professional position per se, and so
Sure.
we're not double dipping that way.
Right.
Lisa, what's your question?
Yeah, so I had a question about, given that they're not, getting any kind of grade or receiving course credit, about incentivization and accountability, because, I supervise a lot of student employees. My employees are primarily like peer tutors, so they are coming to the job because they enjoy like the social aspect of it. They want to work with their peers, and so anything that's not connected with that part, the part where they're directly tutoring, they are not motivated to do. So my experience has been, whenever I give them a task, and in particular things like, I have Canvas modules set up for them to gain professional development, for additional training. We set up training sessions, meetings for them to come to. and they just will, like, the majority of them just will not do it. That, you know, the fact that I'm their supervisor and I'll tell them to do it does not, for the most of them, seem to have any weight whatsoever. And so I'm thinking like, well, so what are my options? I could fire them. I don't love that option if they're doing really good work otherwise. And if, you know, also because I need to be able to actually meet the needs of the program. And, you know, I need
Yeah.
staff. And I could make it so that it's tied to their pay increases. But again, that makes it feel more punitive, right? If I say, well, if you don't do this, then you won't get your salary increase. And I feel like that kind of creates this antagonistic relationship. And so I just oftentimes I feel really challenged to figure out what are some ways, like I'm going to be experimenting this year with using Badger and giving them like badges when they complete, you know, certain things that they can share on their socials and so forth. But I'm just curious if you all, or if anybody else has thoughts about how do we incentivize students to actually do these things that we want them to do, our student workers, especially if we can't sort of stand over them and supervise them as they're doing their work in our organizational structures.
So let me throw out a couple of things, but I'm curious what everybody else wants to say about it. So number one, I know that Claudia added the ePortfolio into the job description. So when she was interviewing interns for this position, it was part of the job interview for them to recognize that this is part of the deal. I get, Lisa, that may still not be cutting it. Number two, oh boy, now I'm already scrambling what all my numbers were. Number two is, I think, showcasing what other students have done. So when I was talking with the two students I've been working with this summer, one of them is saying, this is a really empowering experience, having a site where I can express myself in meaningful ways. I want everybody to be able to do this, right? So capturing student voices that happen to go along that line, I think is a powerful testament. And then the third one, when I was talking about the sort of supervisor part of all of this, is giving the supervisors the tools to give timely feedback to the kind of work that the students are doing. And one thing that we are stressing with our students is, or that we want to stress with our students, is that this is a process and that there are sort of two pieces to the ePortfolio. There is the space where you are setting it up privately, where you can ask for feedback from other people. And then at some moment when you're ready, you can turn it into a published version of it. And so this is how we are creating our WordPress instructions so that the students are clear of it is invisible at first, except for the people I allow it to see. And then at some point, I will make it visible. And maybe I will never make it visible because I don't feel comfortable with it.
So I'm going to encourage everyone to continue asking and answering questions in the chat. And then I'd like to start by thanking Claudia and Vibeke for a fantastic presentation, short as it was, and wish we had more time. And there will be other opportunities for networking where we can continue to ask and answer these questions. And I know that you both had contact information available, so there might be possibilities for people to follow up. But I want to, again, encourage everyone to keep the chat going because we do have a couple minutes before the next session, but also want to allow our next presenters to get set up. So I'm going to stop the recording and hand over the host reins to Candace Reynolds, who's going to lead the next session and also act as a participant. And thank you all. Stay tuned. In 5 minutes, we'll be back here for another fantastic session for the ABLE annual meeting.